Hello and welcome to today's lesson where we're looking at motivation theories. Since the beginning of industrialization and the advent of factories, people have been trying to figure out what motivates employees. Now, different people who've tried to figure this out have come up with different answers, resulting in many different theories of motivation. One of the very first theories was developed by Frederick Taylor in 1911, called scientific management. And in a general sense, you can think of motivation as working as follows. Now, each of us has needs. Now, obviously, your needs will be different from my needs, but each of us is motivated by our needs to exhibit certain behaviors. And the aim of our behaviors is obviously to see if we can satisfy our needs. Now, whether our needs are satisfied or not can then cause us to change our needs. And in this way, the cycle begins again with our new needs potentially causing us to exhibit new behaviors. So for example, if you were thirsty and your thirst is satisfied, you may develop a new need of hunger and trying to satisfy your hunger. Now, as we've already said, there are many different theories of motivation. However, they can be categorized into two groups: content theories and process theories. Now, content theories look at motivation from the perspective of our needs and our aspirations. These theories then discuss motivation in terms of fulfilling these needs. So you can think of content theories as focusing on what will motivate us. Process theories, on the other hand, look at how people are motivated. They're concerned with the process by which motivation occurs and how we can adjust our processes to alter motivation levels. So you can think of process theories of motivation as focusing on how motivation occurs. So now let's jump in and give an overview of all of these theories of motivation, starting with the content theories. But hold on to your hats because I'm going to go as quick as I can. But if you'd like to dig deeper, then I've provided links so you can learn more about all of these theories. So first we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, Maslow described needs in terms of a hierarchy, and the concept being that needs at the bottom of the hierarchy must be satisfied before an individual can move to the next level and seek to satisfy those needs. Now, the 5 levels are physiological needs, such as food and water, safety needs, things like being free from war, having a secure job, social needs, like having relationships and belonging to groups, esteem needs or self-esteem needs, such as receiving praise, recognition, and status. And finally, what Maslow called self-actualization needs, such as wanting to be the best we can be. Next, Herzberg's two-factor theory. Now, Herzberg argued that there are 2 factors which are essential in the motivation of employees: motivators and hygiene factors. Now, motivators encourage you to work harder if present, so for example, having an interesting job. And hygiene factors cause you to become unmotivated if they are not present. So for example, having poor working conditions or having poor pay. Next up is 3 needs theory. And this argues that each of us has 3 needs that exist on a scale. So we have the need for achievement, the need for affiliation, which means collaborating with others with the need to be part of a group, and finally the need for power. Now, managers can use the 3 needs theory to set motivational targets tailored to each of their team. Next, we have McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. This says that employees fall into one of 2 categories. Theory X assumes that team members are intrinsically lazy and unmotivated and will avoid doing work if there is any opportunity to do so. So because of this, management must build systems of control and supervision. On the other hand, Theory Y assumes that team members are ambitious and self-motivated. Now, a Theory Y manager holds the view that if people are provided with the right conditions, then they will perform well. Now we come to ERG theory. Now, you can think of this as being a simplified version of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In ERG theory, there are 3 needs which are also arranged as a hierarchy. So first we have existence needs. These concern your physical well-being, so having food, having water, and feeling safe. We have relatedness needs, which concern your need to relate to other people. And finally, we have your growth needs, and these refer to our personal development needs and desire to perform meaningful work. The final content theory we'll look at is Mayo's motivation theory. Now, Mayo determined that how well a group of employees perform is defined by two factors, norms and group cohesiveness. Now, norms, meaning whether the members of the group encourage positive or negative behaviour, and group cohesiveness, meaning how well the group gets along with each other. Now, groups that have high cohesiveness and positive norms will be the most highly motivated and therefore the highest performing. Now, Mayo is important because he was the first to recognise that if you treat an employee well, they might be more productive for you. Now, these days that might seem like an obvious statement, but in the time of Mayo, it wasn't. So that's all the content theories covered. Let's take a look at the process theories. First up is Adams' equity theory. Now, this says that high levels of employee motivation can only be achieved when each employee perceives their treatment to be fair relative to others. So, for example, if you were paid half what your colleague earns but do precisely the same work, how would you respond? Well, this theory says that you'll adjust your inputs, that is the amount of work you do, to compensate for the perceived unfairness of receiving half the pay, the output. Next, we have Room's expectancy theory. Now, this states that a person will choose their behaviour based on what they expect the result of that behaviour to be. And for an employee to be motivated, three factors must be present. Expectancy, and that's the belief that if you put the effort in, it will be possible for you to hit your targets, meaning your targets are actually achievable. Instrumentality, and that's the belief that you will receive the reward if you actually hit your targets. And finally, valence. So you must value and want the reward that's on offer. Now, if you multiply these three factors together, then the higher the result, the higher the motivation. Next, we have Taylor's scientific management, and this theory can be broken down into two parts. First, we have a philosophy about how employees behave, and then based on that, Taylor created principles to maximize efficiency. Now, Taylor believed employees were only motivated by one thing, money. And because workers are only motivated by money, then they don't inherently enjoy work and work hard. And so because of that, employers should monitor workers very closely to ensure they are not slacking off. Next, we have the self-efficacy theory of motivation. And this is a task-specific way of thinking about motivation. The higher your self-efficacy, the greater your belief that you can perform a specific task and the more your motivation. So four factors combine to determine a person's self-efficacy. Your experience, so have you done similar jobs in the past? Your vicarious experience, meaning have you seen others do it successfully? Social persuasion, meaning encouragement from others will increase your self-efficacy. And finally, physiological feedback. So typically, the more at ease you are with a type of task, the higher your self-efficacy. Next up is the reinforcement theory of motivation. So according to the theory, there are four factors which influence motivation, and you can use these factors to encourage good behavior and discourage bad behavior. Now, the first factor is positive reinforcement, and that's a reward you give for desired behavior. Next, we have negative reinforcement, which is a reward you give by removing something negative from the environment. Next, we have punishment, and this is when you use the threat of a negative consequence to stop undesirable behavior. And finally, we have extinction, and this refers to stopping someone's learned behavior. You can extinguish a behavior by withholding the positive reinforcement that led to the behavior in the first place. The final theory is Locke's goal-setting theory. Now, this is based on the premise that if you set the right goals, then you can increase both motivation and productivity. So what are the right goals? Well, in order for a goal to be the right one, it must have clarity, so it must be clear. It must have challenge, so it must be challenging but not too challenging. It must have commitment, so you must be committed to achieving the goal. There must be feedback, meaning regular feedback boosts your commitment. And finally, the task complexity is something to be aware of. A goal must not be too complicated. So in summary, motivation theories attempt to explain how to motivate employees in the workplace. Broadly speaking, theories of motivation fall into two categories: content theories and process theories. Now, content theories look at motivation from the perspective of our needs and aspirations, whereas process theories look at how people are motivated. So that's it for this lesson. We've covered a lot. Really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you again soon.